You just find a way to get through it. You just find a way to plow through it. And, I tell this story, to those of you, to those willing to listen, whether I'm talking to a group of, corporate people or just a buddy at a restaurant. I got fired my first year. I was horrible as a broadcaster and tripping over my words and nervous and anxiety and all of it. And somehow found a way to get through it. And that's the secret. That's the secret sauce for all of us, no matter what profession we're in, no matter what we're trying to do, is, as they say at times, fake it till you make it. And that's how I feel in broadcasting.
That was former NHLer and teammate, currently broadcaster and podcaster, Nick Kypreos. And you are listening to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolin. Just watch me now. Welcome to Up My Hockey with Jason Podolin, where we deconstruct the NHL journey, discuss what it takes to make it, and have a few laughs along the way. I'm your host, Jason Podolin, a 31st overall draft pick who played 41 NHL games, but thought he was destined for 1,000. Learn from my story and those of my guests. This is a hockey podcast about reaching your potential. Hello there, welcome back to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolin. I am your host, Jason Podolin, and this is the first episode of 2026. It happens to be the 170th episode overall. And today we have Nick Kypreos on. And in my little bit of homework that I do prior to doing this introduction, I always need to find out which episode number it is, because my memory doesn't remember those types of things. And so when I pulled up my own podcast on Apple, which I haven't done in, my God, probably a year or so, it looks pretty good. We have like a 5-star rating. So thank you everyone out there for doing that. 4.8 average out of 69 ratings. That's cool. But it would be awesome if we had some more ratings. It looks like there hasn't really been anything new in a while. So if you're somebody out there that hasn't rated the show, and if you're an Apple iPhone user and use the App Store or Apple Podcasts, by all means, get out there and send a review. It's kind of cool to do this. I'm actually doing this in real time as I'm reading this to you. I'm reading some of the reviews, and I'll just read one. It's super cool, actually, to see how people use the podcast and kind of the impact that it has. And what does it say? Pizza Prep says it's more than hockey. 5-star review. I've learned so much listening to this podcast. Every interview has something in it that will get you thinking. I listen while I'm cooking and cleaning and with the kids around. Then there's not too many swear words. If your kids are in hockey, this is the reminder that the journey is the destination. Thank you, and keep it coming. Keep it coming. Yeah, that's awesome. This one, a listen for anyone pursuing their dream. Whether you're pursuing your dream in hockey, your dream in your personal life, or in your career, Jason's remarkable knack for breaking down the mystery and the trials and tribulations of success is remarkable. I have both my teenage sons listening to this podcast on a regular basis, and we can have conversations far deeper about life as a result. Thank you, Jason. Well, that's super cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that this, like the ratings, I think do really help as far as the promotion of the show. So if you are somebody that listens, and if somebody that, likes what you listen to, then take a second and maybe throw a rating out there, and we'll get this thing buzzing in 2026. But back to Nick. So Nick Kypreos is a former teammate of mine. We played together for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so that makes us Maple Leafs alumni. And the Maple Leafs have a really strong alumni. So I cross paths with Kipper from time to time here and there. And it's awesome to see what he's doing and how he's doing it. Because he left the game for some of you, that Nick Kypreos might not be a household name from the hockey standpoint. If you're in Canada and follow the NHL at all, I mean, he's all around the game, and he covers the Maple Leafs in particular. He's on Sportsnet with his show The Real Kipper and Born, and does a great job there. But he was a junior star as a player. I mean, he played in North Bay. I think he had 60 goals. Yeah, 62 goals one year with North Bay, 49 another. Ended up playing in the minors for a few years, and then got into the NHL and was kind of a journeyman, as he says in the podcast. He's more of a glue guy, playing in the bottom kind of six sort of role, and in and out of the lineup. And when he was with Toronto, I mean, that was where he was. He was a third, fourth liner in and out of the lineup. He would kind of need to fight here and there, which was part of his identity. And he ended up leaving the game due to concussions. And the last concussion I was actually witness to, and it was at Madison Square Garden. It was an exhibition game against the Rangers, and Kipper ended up fighting Ryan Vandenbush, who was a really, really tough lefty. And he threw both hands really well, but he was a real tough cookie. Nick was a tough customer as well, and so they tangled right in front of our bench, and it was just one of those fights that you kind of don't want to see, and you don't want to be a part of, as far as what happened, and Nick got knocked out pretty badly. If you haven't seen it, if you're into fights or at all, maybe you can look it up. It's definitely on YouTube, but it was not nice. And yeah, Nick tried to recover from that, didn't. Unfortunately wasn't able to really come back and be able to play his game again, and he was forced out of the game at that point and got into broadcasting. Great point in this conversation that you're about to hear is Nick talks about his first time there doing broadcasting and all the nerves and all the things of doing something new, and that he wasn't very good at it. Actually got fired his first year, and then came back and kind of reinvented himself and found a way to make it work. And now here he is 25 years later, working his craft and doing an amazing job at it. It's kind of interesting. I just had a coaching call the other day with a group of younger players, and we were talking about the 4 stages of learning, and it's something that I want all my players that I work with to understand, and that is that you're generally not really good or awesome and automatic, as I like to say, at something that is new to you. And when it is new to you, you're in the stage 1, stage 2 of the learning process, and with that comes a lot of apprehension, a lot of what I call like primal emotions, like where there is fear, there's anxiety, there's worry about what other people might be thinking of you, and Nick kind of sums that up perfectly in our conversation, saying those are all the things that he felt. And when we're feeling those things, for the hockey players listening, that is not how you play your best hockey. So before a game, if you're feeling these types of emotions, one, we want to be able to handle them, and we want to be able to use our mindset to be able to put ourselves into a different emotional state, one that allows you to play your best hockey. But from a 4 stages of learning standpoint, you need to recognize that that's just part of the package, right? When you're doing something new, something that you're unfamiliar with, whether it's a new league that you're playing in, or maybe you're on a new line, or you have a new assignment, you're going to a new camp that you've never been to for a new team. Like there are these things that are going to show up that is completely natural and normal. The question is what are you going to do about it, right? What tools do you have in your toolbox to be able to, one, either persevere or to find the emotional state that is going to allow you to play your best? But the most important thing is not stopping, is not quitting. And that's what Nick talks about here, is that, he got back on the horse, and he wasn't ready to say no after getting fired, that's the end of the line. I'm not a good broadcaster. This wasn't meant for me. He kept at it, and he kept working at his craft, and he found a way to be successful in it. So I love that that's part of the story here. We get into the World Juniors as well. We talk about the Olympics. We talk about, Canadian identity, and a little food for thought. We start talking about kind of what I feel has been lost in the Canadian game, and that is the signature, or our former signature, that we were hard to play against. Physically dominant usually, and willing to play a style of game that other teams weren't willing to play. And in that discussion, we started talking about kind of our hallmark players now. And if you were to take somebody like a Mark Messier from, my era, or a Jerome McGinley from my era, or maybe an Eric Lindros from my era, these are all Canadian players that played the game with that edge that I'm talking about. And there are many others from that time. But who are our players now? Who are our young players now that you would put in that class? In the conversation, we talk about Tom Wilson and Sam Bennett, but these guys are 30 years old. Like, who's the 20-year-old? I'd love to hear some comments on that, whether you're in the show notes or wherever you're watching this on YouTube. If you can come up with some names, of some Canadian names that would be classified as maybe old school, but are stars right now in the league, or have the potential to play that way. It seems like we're creating great hockey players still, great individual hockey players, but they're like everybody else's country's great hockey players. They're high skill based, speed, talent, what have you, but maybe not that physical edge that our stars of yesteryear would have. So, anyways, I think Canada's kind of lost its identity a little bit when it comes to that. Whether that's good or bad, I don't really know. I know that I loved it wearing the Maple Leaf. That felt that our team would do whatever it takes to win, and wanted to win potentially more, and we're willing to play outside of ourselves and our comfort zones in order to make that happen. And I think that was something that Canada would get behind as well from a country, something that we connected with. And I feel like maybe there's a little bit of that gone in the with the younger players in today. We'll see what the Olympics has looked like. I'm really excited to see that. If it's anything like the Four Nations, boy, that was awesome hockey. It was high skill hockey. It was also highly competitive hockey. It even had a couple fights in there. That's the way I like to see it. So we'll see what the Olympics are like. Obviously, they're most likely won't be the fighting, because that's not allowed. But that's fine too. I'm sure it'll be hard fought, and guys like Tom Wilson will show their value, I think, to everyone in Canada, that this guy definitely deserves to be on the team. And maybe Sam Bennett gets added here with some injuries as well. We'll see what that looks like. But anyways, Kipper was able to spend some time with us here, 30 minutes. I think, no, almost 40 minutes. He has his own shows to attend to, so he was great to give us 40 minutes of his time, and we had a good conversation. So without further ado, I bring you my former teammate and current broadcaster, Nick Kypreos. All right, here we are with my former teammate from the Toronto Maple Leafs, Nick Kypreos. Kipper, happy to have you on the show.
Thanks, Jace. How are you, pal? I hear you're down south, loving the game.
Yeah,
boys,
we're
all going here. I think it's a fantastic story. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's been fun. Nice little change. I've only really, and my boys have only ever lived in Vernon, and my wife, since we've been all together. So it's been a quick little trip here down to Coeur d'Alene. It's been awesome. Idaho's great. The people are great, and the town's been fun. So yeah, it's been a good experience. How about you with the real Kipper and Bourne, and what's going on in your world right now?
You know what, Jace? Like you, we've been blessed or fortunate enough to continue with the great game of hockey long past making a living from it. And I got into broadcasting right around the time that I unfortunately suffered my last concussion. Made a tough decision and decided that I wouldn't put myself at any more risk. Started a family and got into broadcasting, and lo and behold, it's over 25 years now, and still very much a part of it. And to your point, I've got a podcast show that also is on the radio and TV. It's a multi-platform content show for Rogers, which has all the national NHL games here in Canada. I'm so lucky to be a part of a show with two great kids. I call them kids because I'm the old man in the equation here. But Justin Bourne and Sam McKee are passionate guys. Justin, of course, has a hockey background with the New York Islanders. His dad, the great Bobby Bourne. So he lived through all those magical years with the New York Islanders. So just so blessed to be around the game still, and all these years later.
Yeah, and so 25 years. Like I remember your first year when you were on doing the games there, doing the color, and or not the color. You were on the desk at the beginning, right?
Yes.
Like doing the desk. Boy, time flies. Hey, 25 years.
It's and for all your watchers and listeners out there, it doesn't matter whether it's us going to our first NHL training camp or me on a desk to cover an NHL game, or someone graduating college and going to a brand new job. Same feeling for everybody. The great unknown, the butterflies. Will I be good at it? Will I embarrass myself? It's all the same, right? And you just find a way to get through it. You just find a way to plow through it. And I tell this story, to those of you, to those willing to listen, whether I'm talking to a group of corporate people or just a buddy at a restaurant. I got fired my first year. I was horrible as a broadcaster, and tripping over my words and nervous and anxiety and all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow found a way to get through it. And that's the secret. That's the secret sauce for all of us, no matter what profession we're in, no matter what we're trying to do, is, as they say at times, fake it till you make it. And that's how I feel in broadcasting.
How did you and not to affirm what you were saying, but I mean there were some struggles out of the gate for sure when I saw you. I could tell you
Yes.
were nervous. I mean it wasn't smooth sailing.
No.
But you got better, and you improved and you stuck around and you found a way to stick around. Like, was there anything personal there that you had to go through to keep banging on that door?
Yeah, I think as athletes, you just, there's nothing better than experience at any level, and even minor hockey. And I know you as a top minor hockey league player, whether how many failures you experienced in minor hockey, whether it's cut from a team, or a coach not playing you, or whatever the case is. And you got to find a way to just understand that if it's not the right time for you, it doesn't mean that it won't be the right time for you down the road. Stars have to align a little bit, but you just persevere, and
Mm-hmm.
and you just find a way to get through it. And for me, the less I worried about what others thought, and just started focusing on what I needed to do to get better, is when the switch happened for me in my second year. And sometimes you just got to get sick and tired of being sick and tired, or
Yeah.
and just focus on what your strengths are, what your where you think your lane is. Like, I can't go out there and be a Mark Messier, and Mark Messier doesn't want to be a Nick Kypreos. So why don't I just be the best Nick Kypreos, and Mark can continue to do his thing. And we hope when we come together as a team, it equates success. And once I started understanding where my strengths were as a broadcaster, and that is the experience of being in the room, the experience of being a glue guy. Let's face it, if you're not a star on the team and you're in that bottom echelon of third and fourth liners, or perhaps a healthy scratch every once in a while, now you start getting into, not only when you're on the ice, you have to find a way to be a positive, but you have to be a positive even as an extra player, even as a guy that has to sit in the stands on any given night. And if you just focus on what makes you successful, or being a person that you want to be around and have a positive influence, you accentuate those points, you
Mm-hmm.
you bring them out. And once I started understanding where my strengths were as a glue guy, and understanding the room, and of course I talk with my hands a lot, so that Greek blood, that passion for the game of hockey. Once you start showing who you are a little bit more, uh, then all of a sudden you can find a bit of a lane to be successful. And that's what I started doing. I just started focusing on my relationships in the game, find out what's going on a little bit, have a little bit of an insight into what might be happening in dressing rooms. And we see it today, Jace, in terms of what's going on behind the scenes. Ottawa is a prime example. I can't speak of what's happened in great detail, as we don't know what's happening, off the ice in Ottawa. But I can certainly speak to how it could affect a team in a dressing room, and that's basically what I've been trying to do the last 25 years. And lo and behold, my swipe card still works every day when I go into the studio.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I think I think that insight is imperative. It's one of the insights that I try and give players now that are trying to make it too. That you're so concerned about your hockey skills. Let's say your traditional hockey skills, your shot and your skating and everything else, and nobody's really thinking about their people skills. And my gosh, like hockey is a people game. And I didn't, you realize it at the time because you're one of the boys and you're around and you're doing stuff, but now when you step back out and you look back on decisions that are actually made around that, like the line's so tight as far as the hockey is concerned, right? Who does what well, who gets the puck out a little better, it's kind of beauty's in the eye of the beholder when it comes to that, right? And there's going to be mixed opinions. But boy, like how you show up for practice, what type of energy you bring to the locker room, what happens when you're having an off day, like all those things are reflected in your brand, let's say, like your individual brand, and some brands want to be kept around and some brands don't. So I think that's awesome that you're talking about that because it's a big deal. I mean, it's a really big deal on the pro level.
It is. And what you speak of, Jason, isn't just a hockey team, right? It's just not sports. We're talking about office people as well. We're talking about hospitals. We're talking about a law firm. We're talking about anything. You want to be surrounded by positive people. You want to be surrounded by people that if you are having an off day, it's so comforting and so supportive of someone to say, "Hey, listen, I got your back today. I got you today." And tomorrow it might be reversed where you got someone else's back. But once you have that, and you've been around the game long enough to know that it's rare. Like it's not as common as you'd like it to be in terms of having that perfect synergy amongst 20, 22 guys, because sometimes someone can sit there and say, listen, I'd rather lose getting 15 minutes a night than win and playing 12 and a half minutes a night. Or, that old saying in hockey, which has been around for generations, I got my guy, or I scored my goal. We lost 4-1, but I scored. And, I feel great about that. It's like, no, that's not the way it works. That's not how you build championships. And that's not how you ultimately have success as a team. So once everybody kind of understands that, and I try to instill that on my show, Real Kipper and Born, where I got two fairly young, inexperienced guys in broadcasting. I come in here with 20, 25 years of experience, and the only thing I told them that our show will only get better once we get to know each other and understand each other. And most importantly, Jason, is that we trust each other. And once we build that trust, and it doesn't come overnight, you got to earn your trust as a teammate, as a coworker. You earn your trust. How do you do that? By just following your day-to-day routine. And like I said, if there's certain days you could do something for someone that's not called for, that makes it look like you're going out of your way, but you're not doing it, to collect a bean. You're just doing it because it's the right thing to do, and it feels good to give. And you're not counting give and take beans, as I tell my kids, right? Or sometimes you may just have to give 10 to get one. Right? Yeah. There's no equation. There's no 5 for you and then I'm owed 5. That may work in business when it comes to, earning dollars, but it doesn't come when you're trying to earn trust. Yeah. So once you start giving that as a daily routine, it's unbelievable how you can come together as a team and ultimately have success no matter whatever line of work you're in.
Yeah, be predictable, right? Be predictable and be authentic and be consistent, and that's a great way Great way to build trust, and it happens in the locker room too. You know, the erratic guys that you never know what you're going to get, and you know, when it comes to coaches and ice time, that's a big deal there too. Take a short break from the podcast to give a shout out to my apparel partner on the show, my base layer partner, Acane Hockey. Acane Hockey specializes in base layer protection for athletes. They produce some of the best, if not the best stuff in the game as far as keeping your players safe, keeping yourself safe with the wrists, the hands, the Achilles protection, all the areas where skates can come up and cause damage. I know that I experienced that more than once in my playing day and was lucky enough to not have anything be serious enough to keep me out of the lineup. But we did not have the technology available for us to even consider being cut resistant or cut proof. So if you are an athlete today, it makes no sense not to have a base layer that supports your wrists, that supports some of these areas where skates can come and get you. And Acane does a great job of producing stuff that is light fitting, breathes well. It doesn't even feel like you're wearing it. So I've been awesome. Really happy to be working with Acane. They do a great job, and their apparel is fantastic as well, which I wear all the time. I think I even have one of their t-shirts on right now. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. So anyways, I don't like, there's no payment for me to do this. Like for me, it's just aligning with good companies. They wanted to get some more exposure in Canada and in the West. They have since aligned with the CHL and the Western Hockey League to be the base layer sponsor there. So I just like getting behind good products and good people. So I am definitely a fan of Acane. If this is something that you think would be a good idea for your athlete, you can get a discount using the UMH 2026 code at checkout. So by all means, go check that out and take advantage of the discount that you receive. Again, I think it's great stuff. You're going to be super happy with it, or else I wouldn't be saying that. So check them out, Acane Hockey, AYCANE.com, and grab your apparel or grab your base layer today. Now let's get back to the show with Nick Kypreos. How do you feel about the locker room in today's age? Like the way the game was covered was definitely different when we were actually playing it, in the 90s. So I understand there's a little more insight. Like there was, the reporters had access to the room, but I don't think quite as much as now. So maybe there was less stuff coming out, but the stuff that I hear, and again, I just hearing it, I don't really have my nose inside locker rooms. It just sounds a little more dramatic than it potentially once was. Like the I don't know, like I don't know a better word for it. It just seems like there's a little bit of drama involved. Like, do you find that, or can you maybe shed some light on that?
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that. I think at times we had drama too, and I think they did in the 50s and the 60s, but it's just a matter of, what was readily available to the public. And you asked me about today's game. I am a little nervous for the guys in the access. It's twofold, Jason, in terms of you want to grow the game, you invite your audience in, and we know with the phones now and the digital platforms that it's never been easier to bring in your the outside world inside to your world. And then unfortunately it does come with drama, as you had said, a little bit more. And it just seems like as something that can easily distract you, easily get caught up in all of it. Sometimes it can take the eye off the ball here. Ultimately, we're here to do a job. Yes, we want to entertain, we want to make the fans happy, but ultimately there's a coach, a general manager, a president, and an owner that says that you got to win for me. You got to go deep in the playoffs. That's how we all deem success. Yours is championships, mine are gate receipts, right? But sometimes we do get caught up in that a little bit. We look at now a negotiation. We've been through strikes and lockouts together. One of the negotiation card that they played was the dress code. where guys don't have to wear a shirt and tie like we did. And listen, it's what they want. It's important to them what they dress, how they brand, what the public sees in them. It wasn't my world. I'm sure you probably will feel the same way. It wasn't your world, but this is important to the kids. And, let them have it. Let them enjoy it. If the fans want to see what they're wearing, God bless all of them. But you can't you can't put that above the focus of coming to the rink and trying to win. And sometimes if there's too many of these distractions and it does take your focus off, it will affect your performance and it ultimately affect the team. So as long as they can do all of these things and not take their eye off the ball here, you should be fine. I mean, Florida, there's always a champion at the end of the year, but remember, there's only just one of those and 31 other losers, right? So
Yeah.
it's very rare that from beginning to end, a team can get the job done. But it's usually the ones that understand where the top priority is.
Right. Yeah, and I'd like it's interesting too because some of the teams or players obviously take that the uniform option more than others. I think some teams still all come in suits for what it looks like, and so it's good. It's been an individual choice there. It seems like the teams that have been successful in recent years are a bit of a traditionalist model. Like they're usually built pretty heavy. They have the guys that want to muck. They have the guys that are willing to hit. Maybe even somebody that'll fight. They got the high octane offense. They have they have those pieces, and it seems to be a cohesive, well-oiled group that you could kind of implant into any era, and they're going to do well. To me, it seems like. Do you see that as
Yeah.
well? Like that is that the tendency you're seeing?
Yeah, for sure. And especially here in Toronto, where I'm based out of, and we watched the Florida Panthers beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, who won the Atlantic Division last year. And they've got this reputation, and it's led by Sam Bennett. Carter Verhaeghe, we saw with a controversial hit in Ottawa the other day and go unpunished. And people are screaming about that. But they are as old school as they get. And Sam Bennett to me is, yeah, I mean, he's not very popular amongst Leaf fans, but I tell you what, Jason, who wouldn't want him on their team? He could beat you so many different ways. He's got the skill, and he's also got the toughness to do whatever he thinks it takes to win. And there's an element of that I think is really old school. But here we are in 2026, and they've got some injuries there. On the top is Kachuk and Barkov. They're two best players, and yet they're still finding a way to be ultra competitive here. So Toronto Maple Leaf fans hate them. I'm sure the rest of the league isn't too fond of them either. But ultimately, the game's about skill, of course, of the skating and the shooting and the passing. But there's that competitive edge that I'll fight you tooth and nail for the puck that they have that has risen above any other team the last 2 years. So you love to hate them. You hate to love them, whatever the case is, until they get knocked off. They are still the undisputed Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah. Is that the all-time snub right now, in your opinion? Is it's like Sam Bennett, maybe not all-time, but like for this Olympic go-round that
Yeah,
he's not on this team?
I would take it personally for sure, especially when he did what it took to win the Four Nations, which really started out as not much of a tournament. A lot of people felt like this was just a complete money grab, and the players would all be in on it. But they played it as hard as we've seen any two teams play over the course of our history.
Yeah.
In any era,
And
which
what a
was
skilled goal, a huge
fantastic.
goal for him in that scenario too, right? Like,
Yeah. Um, yeah, I would take it personally for sure if I was Sam. But the good news is, with a dozen games to go, and we saw Braden Point, who's on the Canadian Olympic team, get hurt the other night. And we hope he's fine. But if he's not, there is this master reserve list, which Sam's on it, and I got to think he'd be at the top of the list to replace a point if Point can't go in 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
there still might be a way for Sam Bennett to get there, albeit maybe with the bruised ego a little bit. But you know what they say about egos in dress rooms, eh? Check them at the door.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I'm thinking about the roster construction a little bit, and maybe this ties into the World Junior scenario that everybody wants to dissect and, break apart with Canada, not getting to the gold medal again. But is it the idea of like too many stars or too much high end offense? And should you just bring like quote unquote the best players, or do you bring the best team? And where's the balance with that? Like Sam Bennett, I mean, there are guys that are probably more skilled than him, but like when you talk about all those elements, all those intangibles, the ability to be hard to play against, that he might punch you in the nose, you don't know exactly what's coming from him, like he's unpredictable to the other team and he can still play big minutes. Like there's a guy that I would love to have on my team if I was GM, right? Like I think that there is a place for a line like that at the Olympics. And I also think there's a place for a line with those types of players at World Junior, which we've kind of gotten away from. What's your thoughts with that? Not that was the reason or the non-reason, but how do you feel about roster construction?
Yeah. Well, first of all, one of the hardest decisions to be made, and that falls on Doug Armstrong. And I think you lean on the people that you trust as well. We had Doug Armstrong on our show about 2 weeks ago when they made the announcement, and he talked about picking players, including his own, and how he was much harder on a Jordan Binnington than others were in terms of critiquing or establishing a pecking order amongst the goaltenders. So I'm glad I don't have to make that decision, because we know those are decisions that will last a lifetime, depending on what the outcome is when it's all said and done. But to answer your question, I do like the thought of a team more than a roster full of all-stars. I do understand that there's certain roles that guys need to play in the third and fourth line, opposed to, being a star in the top six of your first and second line. So, yeah, it's easy to replace Point with even a guy like Connor Bedard, who's sitting on the wings and still might end up playing in the Olympics. But you just wonder now in terms of, did you envision a 6-5 score if you need it, or will we see a 2-1 score where, to your point, Sam Bennett can add that fifth look of a game, whereas this Connor is pretty much all offense. It may take crashing to the net a little bit more late in the game, or mucking it up along the walls, and that lends to Sam Bennett, not Connor Bedard. But tough decisions. I'm glad I don't have to make them, unless you're paying me a lot of money. But it'll be an interesting decision to be made ultimately, if Point is at the point of no return. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, I know for sure. Well, yeah, definitely lots of depth for Canada, especially, up front. Well, really almost everywhere except potentially the goaltending position. So the injuries are going to happen, and I think we have some good options there. It all depends, I think, really on what the identity of your team wants to be. And I think that's when people were asking me about the World Juniors, it was like, well, I wouldn't really necessarily argue with who they selected, right? There's great players on that team. But the thing that I think that we've lost, and this is just my personal opinion, is like, I think our advantage was that we were frickin' meaner than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that was like our little competitive edge. Like, we came out and we seemed to want it more, and we were willing to be more physical. And for whatever reason, the games kind of seems like it's stepped away from that, at least at the NHL level, until the playoffs, right? When all of a sudden everything gets really heated and everyone's running each other a game. But it seems like the players have kind of adopted that, and Hockey Canada's kind of adopted that. And like, we didn't really hit anyone. Like, we were like everyone else, and like, even when we won our gold medal, like, we were skilled, of course. Canada's always skilled, but we played harder than the Swedes, than the Czechs, than the Russians, right?
Yeah.
And that turned out to be our advantage. Now I think it looks like we're just kind of playing like everybody else. I don't know. Like, is that what it looks like to you?
Yeah, to your point, there is conversations like that going on behind the scenes in terms of, you know, probably in our era too, we had hungrier players to just make it, and our 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 players as hungry as they should be, and to find different ways to win, or is it just out skating and out shooting an opponent? You know, go back 20, 30 years ago, we got guys in big cities, but we had a lot of guys in small cities that understood that this was their meal ticket out, and they didn't want to drive a tractor for the rest of their lives, or they didn't want to stay in a town with 12,000 people in it with limited opportunities. So they were going to do whatever it took to make it out there, and that included, playing any which way. Today, people are asking, are there still kids like that out there? Or has the sport gotten too expensive where just kids, from well financed families are coming from where that hunger isn't there as much as it was in our era. So, I mean, these are tough questions, social questions here that are far beyond me to answer, Jason. But
Yeah.
yes, your original comment about, are we hungry enough sometimes, or physical enough, or willing to do what it takes to win games outside of just how our skills coach taught us all those years in minor hockey. I think they're legitimate questions.
One more quick break from the conversation with Nick just to chat about the UMH 68, which is in full swing right now. We are getting invitations out across British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Many more invitations to come. But again, if this is something that you are interested about, by all means, make sure you get on the watch list. That's at upmyhockey.com underneath the UMH 68 section. You can get your player on the watch list. Obviously, it doesn't guarantee an invite, but it does let us know that, hey, you are interested in coming. There are a lot of good players out there, and it's awesome to be able to have people step up and say, hey, check us out. We would love to come if we are accepted. So the contact information is sometimes hard to find. That's one of the best ways or things for the watch list. So it's easy to find names of players, but then when you try and connect the names of the players with who the mom or dad is and what their email is, sometimes that can be a bit of a tough slog. And when we're dealing with over probably 500 athletes coming out to UMH 68 this year, that's a lot of work, especially for a small company like Up My Hockey. So yeah, the more you can be helpful in the process, the more it helps us, the easier it makes it for us. So the watch list is a great tool to get your player recognized and noticed, and it helps us be able to contact you if we want to get an invite out to you. And just a comment on the UMH 68 in BC, they're just kind of whatever to clear the air with what's going on. Usually we host that event Father's Day weekend in June, my minor bantam event, and we usually host the major peewee event the weekend before. Unfortunately for me and for Up My Hockey, the Vernon Ice Rink, which has been a great host for us and a great venue that allows us to do the workshops and to have the welcome meetings and to keep everything under one roof. It's a great facility there. They are undergoing ice maintenance this year. So with that being said, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a problem to find some arena of similar, capacity and similar amenities to host the event at the same weekend. But little did I know that so many of the rinks have ice out. There's way less ice available at that time, and it was just actually impossible throughout all of BC to find a venue that could host the event that weekend. So as it turned out, we found some ice at the end of spring break, the very last weekend of spring break, that worked out well as far as the end of playoffs are concerned and everyone's still fresh and before kind of the other spring season starts. I felt that it was a good scenario where we could bring our 2012s and get them going that weekend. Now, the unfortunate part is that POE, or the Program of Excellence for BC Hockey, the first phase of that is held the same weekend in Okanagan and in Delta. I think there's a couple other places. The intention was not to go head to head with the Program of Excellence. That's totally not what I wanted to do. But it is what it is, and there is only one weekend available, and that's what we decided to do. So totally understand if players want to go and do the Program of Excellence. For us, in our experience, the Program of Excellence as the first year isn't really an important stream. They do a fine job there, BC Hockey, but the next year is really the important year if you want to really experience that Program of Excellence in the players' draft year. And you also, just for everyone else out there that knows, you do not have to try out for the Program of Excellence in your jurisdiction, let's say. So if you're from Vernon, BC, where I'm from, you do not have to go to Kelowna to do the Program of Excellence. You could opt to do the weekend earlier in Langley, for instance, if you wanted to still do the Program of Excellence and also do the UMH 68. So just wanted to clear the air there. This wasn't necessarily a choice. It was the best possible solution to still have the event. We weren't trying to compete with the Program of Excellence, but just wanted to make sure that everyone out there knew that there was other options available if those of you who wanted to do both, and hopefully you come and join the 68 if you get an invite. So definitely getting more invites out for that. That's going to be happening before we speak. So we've done a fairly good chunk of invites, but there will be another chunk coming here soon. If you're not on the watch list for the 2012s, by all means, get on it. Now let's get back to the conversation with Nick Kypreos. You're maybe more connected to this than me, but our stars, Messier comes to mind, would kill you, right? As quick as he would, as quick as he'd score on you, right? You know what I mean? That's the way he's or like a Lindros or an Iginla, or those guys that were studs and stars, but would also play real physical. It seems like we have, our stars now have lost that little piece too, right? Not that we had a ton of them, but who's the last guy like that you would say? The youngest guy that is hard nosed.
Right now, there's Tom Wilson, and no question that Tom Wilson. I remember him breaking in the league, and he was looked upon as a goon and a guy that would just come in and intimidate and try to fight. And there's no place in the game for Tom Wilson. Now Tom Wilson's one of the most important players, I think, because he brings that element that you speak of now to the Olympics. And of course, it's double IHF rules, but the feeling is that the NHL wanted half the officials to be NHL, so we're going to see that NHL kind of style of officiating, which will bode well for Tom Wilson. But he's so rare, Jason.
Yeah.
He's a unicorn. There's not enough. When we played in our era, there'd be 2 Tom Wilsons on every team, right?
No.
There at least one, and then one who just played like Tom Wilson at the beginning of his career would just go around and scare the heebie-jeebies out of guys like us.
But Wilson is what? How old's Tom Wilson now?
I think he's probably 30.
Yeah, he's got to be 30,
so
right?
He's in his wheelhouse, and he's having a career year, and he's much like Sam Bennett. He can find so many different ways to beat you, including intimidation. So, teams would love him. Every team would love a guy like that. The league would like a guy like that because they're marketable. They bring fans to the edge of their seats, no matter if it's a goal or a check or a scrum. You're always paying attention when Tom Wilson's on the ice. I mean, those type of guys ultimately, some people will disagree with me, but they're so important in our game.
I think so too. And that's my point. So he's 30. We talking about Sam Bennett, who's close to 30, if not 30. Who's the young version in Canada of Tom Wilson?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I mean, for Canadian teams, Matthew Nyes is a guy that's about 240, 6'2", 6'3", and still almost has baby features. But he's 22, 23 years of age, and he's got Tom Wilson kind of you know, assets in terms of, being able to score goals, skate, pass, shoot, and of course, hit. And on occasion, Matthew Nyes has dropped the gloves, but it's a matter of consistency now, and it's a matter of bringing it every night. And whether you have success or not, you can certainly be a presence every night where the opponent's looking over his shoulder and seeing you come can alter a hockey game. And he's still young, though, Jason, but
Yeah.
I think he's got great upside for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, that's cool. But see how it's like it's not automatic that we can even think of a Canadian player that like represents what we would consider Canadian hockey values, right?
Yes.
Like traditional ones. Like it's wild, like how, and that's for me. Like when I'm watching games now, like I really love competitive players, and I know I've said it on the my show before, but not necessarily fighting. Like to me, I understand that's whatever. I don't know what's happening with fighting in 20 years, if it's going to be in the league or not. I don't know. I don't really have a horse in that race, but I do think that being hard to play against from a competitive standpoint, a competitive spirit standpoint, that you're willing to do a little bit more, whether it's second, third efforts. Well, we won't get into all the ways you can show competitive spirit, but boy, those guys to me stand out. And you stand out without the puck. You stand out when you have the puck. There's ways to be valuable and impactful. And that's the piece for me that I think, man, I want to celebrate that in players right now, because like you said, they're massively valuable, and they will get found. That's the other thing too. There's not enough of them.
I think for me, a guy like Zach Hyman in Edmonton doesn't have that I'm going to drop my gloves and beat the crap out of you feel, but he plays the game exceptionally hard. And I think he's also a guy that I would think wouldn't be too far off the Olympic list of extra guys. I don't know where he is on the pecking order, but I certainly wouldn't feel bad if he ended up on my Olympic team. And Edmonton improved dramatically when he came back in the lineup and slotted a few guys. I think Connor McDavid's game went to another level when he came back. But
is he something right now?
But Zach Hyman, to me, is the type of guy there that can find different ways to beat you as well. And ultimately, it's like watching a video game. Connor McDavid scoot around the ice and make guys look like they're standing still.
It's unbelievable. Like it's so unbelievable to actually watch him at where he's playing, the National, and to do the things that he's doing out there against the best players, his peer group, the best, of the best. It's so nuts to me to just consider how good he actually is. But he's just on another level. It's crazy what he can do out there. And nothing away from Nate McKinnon, but he's like that to me too. Nate, when Nate's on, like he looked that dominant too. But like just something about Connor, boy, he just seems to be on another stratosphere.
And he wants to be the best. Like it's his mission. He's the type of guy where you look at him, you listen to him, and 24/7 doesn't stop in terms of thinking the game, playing the game, preparing for your next game. He's on a mission here. I don't know where Edmonton is depth-wise on the blue line and what kind of goaltending they'll ultimately get, but if there's one guy capable of winning a Stanley Cup and carrying a team on his back, it really seems like Connor's that type of guy that can do it. And of course, he leans heavily on Leon Draisaitl, who's special in his own right. But that Connor McDavid right now, what we're witnessing, is something very special.
Yeah. When you combine his I would say his professionalism and how elite he is about high performance, like away from the rink, with what he has on the ice, like that's when you get like the generational type of talent that we're seeing. And I had a good story. Obviously, I still have some guys that are involved in the game, and I know one guy that works with the Oilers, and a good example of that was prior to their couple cup runs, I think they got knocked out in the first round or the second round, I think, and half of Edmonton Oilers is in a pizza party and whatever when it's all said and done, and he gets this text message from from Connor, who's sitting there watching the Vegas power play, and he's drawing up looks and sending them screenshots of stuff that he wants to try next season. This is 6 days after they're knocked out, and he's studying the game and the power play and sending it to the power play coach. That's. And I'm not saying everyone can be like that, because not everyone is, but like when you combine those two things, right, that you're saying he wants to be the best and he also has this elite pedigree of talent, like that's when it becomes really, really, really special.
He's a racehorse right now. And the human point, the human side of me, suggests that, man, I hope we don't squeeze him too hard here, because there's such a demand on him. He's got the demand of the Edmonton Oilers. He's got the demand of Hockey Canada now in the Olympics. He's got the demand of the league to be the face and the ambassador to sell the game, whether it's interviews, whether it's commercials, whether it's corporate. I hope we're not squeezing, him a little too hard here, because there's so much more to go here. I hope he can pace himself a little bit too. I think he's smart enough to do it.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, and I can't claim I know Connor McDavid at all, but the perception I get from his personality is that's not what he's about either, right? Like that's work for him, like doing the media touches and being in front of people and all that stuff is work. Like what he wants to do is being on the ice, which doesn't feel like work for him, So I understand that from a personality standpoint that can be a lot. So yeah, hopefully he's taken what he can. Obviously he's earned the right to probably say yes and no when he wants to. And hopefully he's using that to his advantage, because boy, it's a hard world being Connor McDavid for sure. I can imagine it never stops.
Yeah, I think they're in a position right now. We'll see where the Toronto Maple Leafs are. They had a big win against Colorado. Of course, those first 20, 30 games for them were awfully tough. Austin Matthews, who so many times in his career was regarded as the second best player in the world next to Connor McDavid, had struggled early, but he's coming along. So between Edmonton and Toronto, I think there's a newfound hope here, in Canada anyways, for us.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's been a fun year. I think the NHL's in a good spot. Olympics coming right now. It's there's a lot of good hockey to be played, and a lot of teams that are in it. I mean, obviously Colorado separated themselves from the pack quite substantially, but there's a lot of I don't think anyone really knows, if you take them out of the equation, about who's going to rise to the top. So it makes it for a fun for all of us.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. I know you had some other things to get to, Kipper. It's great to catch up. I love what you're doing, and glad to see you having success. And thanks for spending some time on my show.
Yeah, keep up the great work, man, with the kids.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to find a job that allows me to be dad and keeps me around them, because I know they're not going to be around here forever. So it's been very fortunate.
Amen to that. Thanks, pal.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to episode 170 with Nick Kypreos, a former teammate of mine with the Toronto Maple Leafs, doing great things in the broadcasting world and covering the game as he does. Always appreciate Nick's insights and his takes on things. And I'd love to hear your take. Like I said in the intro, how do you feel Canadian hockey is going? If you are a Canadian listener, and if you're not a Canadian listener, I'd love to hear that too. What's the perspective from outside of Canada on Canada? What are my U.S. listeners thinking about the Canadian development as far as from the junior side of things is concerned? What are we thinking about it from a big picture side, from an Olympic style? Did we select the right players on our team? There's so many good players to go from, but it is one of the things that makes it fun when these events come around is, who's on it, who's off it, why this guy, why not that guy. But for me, more importantly, it's like, what is Canada's identity right now? I think that we could do a better job of maybe bringing back a little bit of an old school approach to our identity, and start embracing players that are willing to do extra things in order to win hockey games. I love those types of players on my teams, and sometimes those aren't the first or second liners. Sometimes they are. In a perfect world, you have your first and second liners be guys that are that play that abrasive style as well, or at least a couple of them. But I do think there's room for them on a team in this day and age, and especially at the World Junior level. So I'd love to hear your opinion on that. And until next time, you guys play hard and keep your head up. This is Jason Podolin.